Hawkish, dovish. Hawkish, dovish. Have you guys heard these words before? Well, welcome to another advanced English vocabulary lesson. Okay, I would say these words are pretty advanced, but they're not confusing. It's not rocket science here. You can figure it out, right? Do you know what a hawk is? Do you recognize two birds in these words? Hawk and dove. What is a hawk and a dove? A hawk is a predator. Okay, a predator, that means an animal that hunts. It's a predator. Are you a predator? I hope you're not a predator. Okay, so hawks, they hunt. What do they hunt? Rabbits? I think they even sometimes hunt small, like, goats or sheep. Can't they carry off like a baby, like a lamb? A baby sheep is called a lamb. I think maybe hawks, or is that eagles or falcons? There's a few different animals that are similar. There's hawks, falcons, eagles, also vultures. Vultures are something else. Vultures are scavengers, right? A scavenger is a person or an animal who eats or preys upon. The word to prey upon means to to eat animals that have already been killed by a different animal, right? So like vultures. Let's say there's a dead animal somewhere. The vultures will come, right? And the vultures will eat that animal. But I don't know if vultures actually kill animals themselves. If you're an expert on vultures, let me know down in the comments if vultures kill animals. I think vultures are considered scavengers. Okay, so they just kind of fly around looking for dead animals or that kind of thing. Also, I think hyenas are hyenas scavengers as well, right? Like a lion is a predator, right? A lion hunts its prey, right? It preys upon lions prey upon. What kind of animals do lions prey upon? Like gazelle, those African, deer that you see, those kind of like the antelopes that can jump, really high. So lions prey upon those. Okay, that's a different word. We're not talking about this kind of prey, right? This is P-R-A-Y, but to prey upon is P-R-E-Y. There's a distinction, but they're pronounced the same way. Okay, prey and prey. All right, so hawks are aggressive animals, right? They're very aggressive. They hunt. But what about doves? Are doves aggressive? No, doves are very gentle animals, right? They get scared very easily. They don't want to hurt anybody. Doves eat seeds or bugs, maybe? Do doves eat insects? I'm not sure. But doves are gentle. All right, so just keep those two kind of mental pictures in mind. A hawk hunting and a dove just kind of sitting there eating some seeds. Okay, so that's what we mean with these words hawkish and dovish. We mean aggressive. If somebody is hawkish, they are aggressive. If somebody is dovish, that means they are gentle. Now, you'll especially see these two words when we are talking about economic policy and a country's military posture, right? So, if a country is aggressive, if they are attacking other countries, you could describe that country as hawkish. Or if they're generals, they're military commanders and stuff, if they are hawkish, it means they're aggressive, right? If they are dovish, that means they are more timid, right? And economic policy, right? How should we handle the economy? Should we take an aggressive approach to our economy, or more of like a gentle kind of approach? So if you're listening to the news, right, these days the news is always talking about military stuff, but also the economy, right? I mean, even all times, like when has the news ever not been about the military or about the economy, right? Those are the two big things in the news, right? News are always either talking about, the news people, right? The media companies and stuff. They're always talking about the economy, and they're always talking about like military stuff, right? So these two things are basically like the news. So you're always going, if you turn on the news or you watch some podcasts, like I like to listen to financial podcasts sometimes, or like, news podcasts, that kind of thing. Okay. So you will hear the words hawkish and dovish a lot. So if you listen to financial podcasts like I do, there's a name that you will hear very often, and that is Jerome Powell. Okay. So this guy, he is the chair of the Federal Reserve in the U.S. Okay, the Federal Reserve is the U.S. Central Bank. Okay, it's called the Federal Reserve. Here in Canada, the central bank is called the Bank of Canada. So this guy is the chair of the Federal Reserve. Chair, that means the leader. Not this kind of chair, right? I'm sitting in a chair. He is a different kind of chair, right? He is the leader. That's another meaning of the word chair. Okay, what kind of chair are you? Are you the leader, or are you this kind of chair? Hope you're the leader kind of chair. So guys, I was going to say, so when people talk about this guy, they're very often they use the word hawkish or dovish. They might say his he's pretending to be hawkish, but really he's a dove, right? He's pretending to be a hawk. So you could call him a hawk or a dove, depending on what your opinion is, right? Or you could say his policy is hawkish or dovish, right? So the financial podcasters that I listen to, they say that he is a dove. They say he's pretending to be hawkish, but really he's a dove, right? So you hear the word monetary policy. Now, monetary policy means the money, control of the money supply in the country, the financial stuff in the country that is not the government. Okay, we're talking about the central bank. That's called monetary policy. But our governments also have their money stuff, like collecting taxes, spending money here or there. That's called fiscal policy. Okay, so if the government does stuff, that's called fiscal policy. If the central bank does stuff, that's called monetary policy. So the interest rate hikes or decreases, whatever, that's monetary policy. The government isn't supposed to be interfering in that, right? Like Joe Biden isn't supposed to be calling up Jerome Powell and saying, hey, you need to lower interest rates, or you need to hike interest rates. It's not supposed to be happening like that. There's supposed to be two kind of independent things, right? It's all, this world is kind of crazy. There's always these kind of backdoor deals that are being made, right? Secret phone calls between people and stuff. But anyway, like you remember last year, right? Last year, it was possible to borrow money from your bank to buy a house. That's called a mortgage, for like 1 or 2% interest rate. That was your interest rate, like 2% to buy a house here in Canada. 2%. Now, just a few months, it's gone up. It's like 6% or 7%. I don't even know what it is now. It's really high. So how did that happen? That's the central bank, right? The central bank increased the interest rates. So in the US, that's this guy who did it, right? Jerome Powell. So people are saying that he's pretending to be hawkish by increasing interest rates by large margins, right? Like 1% per time. Usually it's only like 0.25% per time. And now he's doing like big chunks. It's going up really fast, but they're saying he's pretending to be hawkish. And actually he's going to pivot very soon. And he's actually really a dove. All right. To pivot means to turn around. So now the interest rates are getting up there. And now suddenly he's going to turn around and lower interest because our economy is going to crash, right? If he keeps raising interest rates, people aren't going to be able to keep paying for their houses. And that would be really bad, right? That would cause a huge recession, financial crisis. So people are saying he's really a dove, and that his hawkish policies are going to end, and he's going to pivot and start lowering interest rates again. So here's another example. Okay, this guy is John Bolton. Do you know who John Bolton is? He's a funny guy. I love his mustache. So he was in the in many different. He was in the U.S. government. He had a government job for over several different presidents. I think George Bush, Obama, Trump, and then Trump fired him, didn't he? I think. But anyway, so John Bolton, he's got a really hawkish. He's a hawk. He's got a really hawkish foreign policy. Hawkish foreign policy. Okay, so he is calling for regime change in Russia. I saw that on the news just a couple days ago. So John Bolton is calling for regime change in Russia. So what is regime change? Regime change means that one country goes and changes the government in another country, right? They go in and say, we don't like you guys. We're going to get rid of this leader, right? And we're going to put in a different leader, right? The US did this in Iraq, Afghanistan. It's done this many times, right? Where the US goes in, they say, we don't like you. You're out of here. We're going to put in a new government called a puppet government, right? If the government is just kind of put in there by the US, you can call that kind of a government just a puppet government, right? A puppet is like a fake person, and you're pulling the strings, right? You know, a puppet show. Have you ever seen a puppet show? Like Pinocchio was a puppet, right? So Pinocchio was not a real boy, right? And so the puppet master, the puppet, the guy with the strings, right? He's he's pulling the strings, and it's the puppet government, right? So the government in Afghanistan, the government in Iraq, they were just puppet governments, right? The strings were being pulled by the US. Okay, that's what regime change means. Now, this word regime, it's another word for like government, but it's particularly used when you don't like the government, right? So if you don't like the government in another country, you can call it a regime. It's kind of gives a bad kind of a connotation, has a bad connotation. The word connotation means kind of a bad feeling, right? So in Russia, right, there's a government, the Russian government, right? It's like a normal government, right? But in this case, John Bolton doesn't like Vladimir Putin, right? And so he's calling the Russian government Putin's regime, right? So by using this word, we know that John Bolton doesn't like the Russian government. Okay, and he's saying that the US should go in and just change the regime. I don't know what he's smoking. He must be smoking something pretty strong. Like, it's just an easy thing, right? Oh, we should just go in, change the regime, put in a new government, and everything will be good, right? So that's what regime change means. Now, foreign policy means a country's position, or a country's attitude, maybe I should say, a country's attitude toward other countries. You know, like your relationship to the other countries. What kind of relationship do we want with that country over there? That's an issue of foreign policy. Not domestic policy, right? Domestic means here in our country, right? Just like if you take a domestic flight, that means a flight inside Canada here. If I take a domestic flight, that means I might be flying to Vancouver. If I take an international flight, I'm flying over somewhere else, right? So that's the difference between foreign policy and domestic policy. Okay, so John Bolton has a very hawkish foreign policy, right? He's always calling for regime change. His whole career, he's been doing this. So he's a one-trick pony. He's a one-trick pony. Have you heard this term? This is a good term that you should learn. Okay, if somebody is a one-trick pony, that means they can only really do one thing well. They always just do one thing, right? You know, like what a pony is, right? A pony is a small horse, right? And ponies, I guess, were used for just doing tricks. You know, they have like different shows, I guess, or I don't know, where a pony would jump over. I don't know the different kinds of tricks ponies can do, but that's one thing people do with ponies. I guess they train the ponies to do tricks. But if something or someone is a one-trick pony, that means they can only do one trick. They always just do one thing, right? And so if we describe John Bolton as a one-trick pony, that means he always only has one idea, and that is regime change. That's what he's good at, right? He knows how to go in there, change the government like he did in Iraq and Afghanistan, put in a puppet government, and now he wants to do that with Russia as well. So he's a one-trick pony. Okay, guys, so for homework, I want to know, if you were the leader of a country, would you have a hawkish or dovish foreign policy? Let me know down in the comments if you are a hawk or a dove. Remember, hawkish means to be aggressive. Dove means to be gentle. All right, guys, so those are your two advanced words. Like I said, kind of easy, right? You can just kind of figure it out by thinking about the animal. What kind of an animal is a hawk? Hawk is an aggressive animal. A dove is a gentle animal. So sometimes, guys, with English, learning advanced English words like this, it doesn't need to be super complicated. You can even figure it out on your own just by thinking about it a little bit. Hearing the word hawkish, what could that mean? You'll probably get the meaning. So trust yourself, guys. I think you can get it. You can get the meaning. So with that, as always, I love you so much. I hope these words will help you understand the news and understand the what was I gonna say? Politics? No, the talk shows or the podcast. That's the word I was gonna say. Podcast. Like I said, if you're listening to financial podcasts or podcasts about the economy or about current events, you're definitely going to hear these words, hawkish and dovish. So hope you find that helpful. Guys, as always, have a great day, and I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.